Look, I got a match. Oh yeah.
Alright,
Oh yeah, player.
let's do a swipe or two then. The old swiperoo. On a load, Tendy load.
Oh. There's a lot of unreviewed matches actually. But not so anything else.
Oral-B, no brush compares, 100% removes more plaque. That is what showed on my screen before we came to see you again. Welcome back to the final round of the 45-round Causeway Challenge 2016 here in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. Introing for the very last time this tournament, I am Jesse Matthews, joined by Chris May, as we analyze this second place matchup between David Eldar and Harshan Lambadasuriya. Both of them at an equal number of wins, Eldar with a lot more spread, but of course with equal wins that does not matter. Whoever wins this game will take second, and based on the standings in front of me, if David loses, he will still have more than enough spread for third. However, if Harshan loses and Ayarinde wins, then Ayarinde will jump into third. So still a few variables here, but of course Nigel won after round 43. David Eldar with a quick start of Zawi, and we're waiting on Harshan's first rack.
Yep, hi Jesse, hi to everyone watching. Thank you so much for joining us throughout the tournament. We've really enjoyed giving you these live stream commentaries from Causeway 2016. We think the setup's gone pretty well, and we've been working throughout the week to make small improvements and make it even better for you. Let us know what you think in the chat. We're very keen to know your thoughts so that we can make this kind of coverage even better for future tournaments that may use it. Meanwhile, as Jesse said, this final game is a straight-out second place playoff between David and Harshan. Spread not an issue between these two players. Whoever gets the win gets second place to the Gibsonized Nigel Richards, who has once again shown his dominance over the other top Scrabble players of the world with this performance. The only one who could get to a 30-win mark in the 45-game King of the Hill format, and played a lot of tough opponents to get there. He had something like 11 games with Mark Nyman, 10 or so against Jesse Day, and another 10 or so against David Eldar.
Well, that's 2/3 of the games right there. So after that nice opening high score of Zawi, Eldar is a little bit more clunky now.
Yeah, I guess up dove leaps off the rack as a play for him.
And Harshan, meanwhile, has some nice letters to go with his Q.
That's an extremely good draw to G-U-L-S.
Oh yeah, he's actually very close to Squill G, which has come up once before.
Yeah, you seem to really want that word to get played.
Yeah. Oh wait, that is 2 G's.
Oh, that's a shame.
Not a Q.
I think you would have preferred the Q.
Yeah, so his rack is not quite as good as we thought. Well, he's got Gulag, I guess, instead. But yeah, still not even that lead.
Dave just coming to terms with this slightly tricky early rack. And I guess he's just doing due diligence to make sure that plays on row 10 and plays on row 7 are preferable to the very likely up dove. Maybe he'll like to keep it tight with a row 7 play.
Pod being among them if you were to choose.
Yeah, hard to see one that breaks up the VU on his rack as well, and I think that's classically at least reasonably important here to make sure that he stays flexible going into the following few ply. I would certainly play up dove here, unless I'm missing a really good one.
I have to listen a little more carefully whenever you say fly, because based on your accent, I don't know if you mean play or fly when I'm speaking in mine.
Can't hear the difference between play and fly.
I was saying I can tell, but I have to listen a little bit harder because it's more similar than when we say it.
Yeah.
But I did manage to get a mite out of you. Hadn't heard it all week.
Just the one. My accent's got a little bit more British in the last 4 years, I have to admit. Drop some of my T's now, which I never used to. Say O instead of O.
Yeah. And even the way you said yes was a little bit more British. Voodoo should be good in this lexicon.
And yet.
It is not.
And therefore David Eldar will not be playing it.
He prefers taking points greater than 0.
Solid strategy. So, his rack has now changed.
He doesn't have B, he has D's.
So, all of our discussion was fruitless because of that update in David Eldar's rack information. And we look at the position afresh, and it's now no longer such a surprise that he's taking a bit of time on it. Duo at 10B jumps off the new information as a possible play for me. But he plays Poodoo.
Leaving dot. No, I would never play Gulag at 7A. I was just looking at it as something that clears out. Certainly wouldn't play Gag and Azo and Goop.
You wouldn't play Gulag at 7A. Looks like a really nice
think about it. I'm just scared of Ings. Maybe it's just me being freaking out about worst case scenario. I mean, I like it because of what it does in scores, but yeah, maybe I shouldn't worry about it so much, especially because he's behind.
I think I'd absolutely play it. If he does, no, Dottings isn't good, they're not going to get smashed with that. Yeah, Jason Katz-Brown is on Team Gulag 7A.
I love that hashtag.
Welcome to the team.
No, it's a good play. I just hadn't found a way to justify it yet, and it was really just fear of worst case scenario comebacks. But it looks like he's opting for Gag instead.
And I question that play.
Yeah, I definitely don't like it. Even with my hesitations on Gulag, I would have considered that better than just Gag. And there goes Snotted underneath as a double-double.
So David Eldar, firm favourite to stitch up second place now with that early exchange done. And we've questioned some of Harshan's positional play each time he's been up on the top board, Jesse. What I meant to say before, I didn't think either player's range was all that great after GOO and PUDU. But perhaps Harshan's was better after GU, and that's why Dave opted for paralleling the E's that were existing on the board. Whereas after Poodoo, Harshan probably shouldn't have had very much fear about opening up the 9-timer based on range considerations. We wait to see what Harshan has drawn. be too pleased with that. An E instead of the duplicate I would have been lovely for him. Would it have even played? No, it would have, but for cheap.
Joel Sherman is channeling my innermost thoughts as well. I was thinking we could make a British spelling of Eureka and just throw an O in front of an E in a random position, but some wishful thinking on our part, certainly.
So Harshan in a difficult spot already here. 120 points down. Immobilized board for bingos in quite a lot of the territory, ranging from row 5 right down through the entire southwest of the board and up to the right hand part of row 12. All of that is barren for bingos. That's a massive chunk of territory as the chasing player, and Harshan is going to want to do some developing down there, in addition to playing for those lines that remain open towards the north and east. I see something like Mewil on row 12 underlapping Snotted as a possibility.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, Pruitt to Snotted was certainly a bit fortunate, but we gotta give David a little bit of credit here. He hasn't been too lucky against Nigel today, so a little bit of variance going in his favor, albeit a little bit too late.
Dave was drawing the bag game after game after game yesterday morning.
Yep.
So
back and forth.
So Harshan strings it wide open with Ilium. I'd love to know what people think of that play as compared to Mewil. Let us know in the chat. And Harshan would be a bit disappointed with his draw again to the two S's. No bingo and no scoring power to speak of. And looking tougher and tougher for him with every play here.
Josh, perhaps a different choice of words, or perhaps something else to clarify what you meant would have been in order, because based on what you wrote, it sounds like you were chalking it up to luck entirely.
Nice scoring play of Oakham, meanwhile, for Dave. Nobody seems to think the Ilium versus Mewil choice was interesting. To me, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Mewil.
Is that a bingo for Dave? It is, right? Is it? Yeah, of course it is. Real man. Played in two places, so almost good night. The row 13 play is quite highly scoring as well. In fact, they both are. M is nicely utilised in both. So this is almost a KO for David Eldar at the start of this game. And again, we've seen just a couple of positional plays by Harshan at the start, which we've had question marks over. I'm actually not writing either off as a mistake here, Gag or Ilium, but I think there was a serious discussion to be had on both of those turns. And he finds himself with his opponent taking full advantage of the spots on the board and shooting out to a massive lead, and we've seen this before.
Here we have. Joel Sherman says, Realman eats quiche. Chris Life says, no need to completely gaga yet. Fair enough. I'm going to save my yes until a little bit later, I think.
So opinions split in the chat on Ilium Mewil after I forced people to discuss it. Hard play to evaluate that one. And to be fair, Harshan didn't draw it too well in the last couple of turns. AAIIT isn't going to help all that much with anything. And that's an interesting choice. SAI with no E in hand. Of course, DOS is a word.
Yep.
And Real Man without delay from Eldar to push ahead by almost 200 points. And Harshan's going to want to get a bingo right now. And that W may have made it impossible. A lovely score tight with a T, but it doesn't go. It's Groundhog Day for Harshan. Has been here before. I think we've seen this movie a few rounds ago. In the beat he took to Nigel. This one doesn't look as dramatic as that one was with the old sun gazing. Harshan did say he knew that after the game, which makes it very interesting that he didn't play it when he had it available and also challenged it when Nigel made the play.
Just couldn't pull the trigger, I guess.
Yeah.
That's tough to do, as I mentioned earlier, against someone who you know has perfect word knowledge.
Yeah, and that may be a bit of board one, visiting player to board one psychology going on, you never know.
Yeah. And there's mixed opinions on what to do in that case. There's some people who say that if you don't pull the trigger on a word, you look a lot worse than pulling the trigger on a word that isn't one. And I don't really know how I feel about that, but if I see it and it's that juicy, I'd probably try it.
Josh points out that Dave has drawn to Rebeldom. Nice ace. And will Eldar miss it, he asks. My guess is he will not.
Ed says, nah, he tastes blood.
Of course, we did see Dave miss on a couple of bingos that we were surprised by in the final game yesterday. But that was absolutely a fatigue thing, I reckon.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at the line where he had virtuosi and was absolutely shocked when I told him about it after the game. Looks like Dave has plonked that one down, no trouble at all, as we thought might happen. So Harshan suffering a bit here, valiantly trying to balance his rack for a bingo. Well, what do we say about a pickup like that? QTT to an EIST leave. Critical as one might be of Harshan's early plays, there's not a lot you can do about Drac like that showing up on your rack.
My laugh there is at Eldar's very nice rack.
Is this actually... Edward Akulich suggests this is Harshan's first match with David in the entire tournament, which I'm slightly surprised by.
Well, he's been crawling his way back up the whole time.
Yeah.
Harshan, which is what other people have been saying is their criticism of King of the Hill, that allows you to avoid people sometimes when they are constantly playing each other.
Yeah, kind of loaf around in the pack for 3 days and then make a bit of a run. Of course, no one's actually trying to do that as a strategy.
Yeah.
So, sadly, it's an anticlimactic final game at Causeway 2016 as David Eldar completely outdraws Harshan. There's only a little bit to say about the early positional play. Harshan may well wish he'd opened up the triple line with Gulag instead of his play of Gag, keeping keeping ILSU. But he may feel that his play was entirely justified as well. Same goes for Ilium on the following turn, which we were told simmed just as well as Muel. Harshan plays QI. he has a little bit of medium-term rack damage unless he pulls to something like Stretto. And Dave has 7s on his rack, or at least the one with Epineoi. I haven't seen a spot to play it yet, and he may well have an 8 that I haven't noticed.
I was checking and didn't see anything offhand.
Yeah, surprisingly few 8s from this rack. It may not be a playable bingo.
I think I would probably just opt for Pianic or something like that. He's not in any danger of losing his lead.
Yeah. But you can bet your life that if he's taking time on this turn, it's because he's not sure about whether he has a bingo or not.
Yeah. Chris Life says SAI seemed weird, but I didn't actually find something else to do, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that one as well.
I agree. Yep. Fair enough play. And he did keep hooking tiles. I mean, it takes an S and a T, right? So,
yep.
And an A, and he had all of those in his lead.
And an E.
Yep. And an H. Wow. How many words do we know? That's pretty cool.
A, C, D. We start singing the alphabet and half of them will work. Harshan has Fet in the upper right next turn, which is not likely to get taken away with the 2 T's. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just going to ask whether you thought there'd be good viewing numbers for a YouTube channel that featured you saying the alphabet.
Me saying the alphabet? I sincerely doubt it.
I don't know why.
But then there are very strange things on YouTube that generate a huge following, so perhaps I should try. I do not have 100,000 subscribers to my Scrabble videos, so perhaps counting is the key.
I see that Harshan has drawn CF. And, well, what can we say? He needs to play through some consonants and just try and get that bingo. The obvious thing is tift down the bottom.
I was going to say Fet.
Or indeed, fit, giving the E to hook as well.
Were you looking, sorry?
Oh, M11 tift.
Oh, there, I see. Okay. Yeah.
FET at the top, of course, a good scoring play. Yeah.
Chris Life says, tune in next week as Jesse recites some Greek letters. All right. We have some continuation. And then for the season finale, we'll get into the Cyrillic alphabet.
How many letters in the Spanish alphabet?
Spanish alphabet has Ñ as an extra letter, and then in Scrabble at least, doble R is an extra letter, which is 2 R's next to each other.
Cool.
And doble L, as they call it. So there's a few extra.
And it has all the English ones as well?
Yes. Even though they are rare.
Uh-huh. So what's the highest scoring tile in Spanish Scrabble?
I'm trying to think back on that one now. Actually, no, Spanish does not have the W.
Ah, right.
Yeah. The Z is worth, I think it's worth 8 just like in French Scrabble, so I'm trying to think. The L, I believe the double L is one of the highest scoring letters. That one is a 10.
Cool.
They do play bonus plays very often in Spanish Scrabble because a lot of words with common sets of letters, they anagram to a lot since conjugation happens quite often.
Oh, and all the inflections are allowed? Because
Yeah.
there are some languages where inflections aren't allowed, right? Is that even true for French, maybe?
No, French it is also allowed. So,
Okay.
like, for example, we say I am, you are, all that.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those inflections work. But in Spanish, it's stuff like hablar, hablas, hablaste, and they all work. So there's tons and tons of words. Anyways, let's get back to the discussion here. Pianic, Joel, yeah, that was the one I had mentioned earlier as well. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, we don't think there's a bingo here. And Scissor sort of backs us up unless it's an extraordinarily improbable 10 through LDI, which I haven't scissored yet or something. But Dave's probably just looking for 7s, if I know him.
Yeah. And Chris Light says it's Funny, Gulag is the sort of play that David Eldar makes every single day, and then twice on Sunday for good measure.
Yeah. I felt sure I read somewhere that one of the World Championship languages for Scrabble had a lexicon that only allowed root forms of words, because otherwise it would be an unmanageable word list. But I don't know what language that was, so maybe somebody else knows.
It's a good question. Maybe if there's Esperanto Scrabble or something like this, who knows?
It'd be a bit crazy in Estonian, 14 cases.
Oof. Swedish Scrabble doesn't allow inflections, says Ed. That made me very sad to hear.
Maybe it was
There you
Swedish
go.
that I
Good
was
to know.
hearing about, yeah.
Because Swedish does have a number of them as well from the very basic Swedish grammar I remember reading.
Swedish grammar, you're full of surprises.
I had linguistics, Spanish linguistics as a minor, so.
Okay. Dave opts for Pianic in the end, bottoming out with no bingo, which is fair enough since there wasn't one. And I expect Harshan will either decide to take the points and leave the board as a lottery with FETT, or play for a high scoring bingo with FITT or TIFT down the bottom. Those look like the basic decisions to me. Meanwhile, he's going to give Dave another 5 for Pianic, I think.
Yep. So Chris Lipe, actually, I have confirmation that he did learn some basic Norwegian Scrabble back in the day, so he does know what he's talking about when he says Norwegian does allow for inflections, and Katipo asks about Icelandic. We do know that there is Icelandic Scrabble because they invited Nigel to learn their book and come play in their championship.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
He smiled and politely declined, as he usually does, is what we were told.
I've seen an Icelandic set when I was there. The letter that they have in Icelandic that's pronounced like a hard TH. I don't know what it's actually called.
The one that looks kind of like the P. With
yeah, exactly. That's a pretty cool tile.
It is I would imagine that would be a cool one. The most common word for even the people passing through Iceland is there's the section of the country called Thingvellir.
Thingvellir.
And it has that sort of thorn-looking letter with the P, and that's to spell the name of the area in the national park. It actually changes depending on where in the word you are. At the start of a word, it looks sort of like that P with the up and down, but it changes to sort of the D with a weird star on the top of it when you get further into a word.
And I think it's not an urban legend that Thingvellir place is actually the origin etymologically of the English word thing.
It is?
Or the Alþingi, the Icelandic parliament.
I have heard that story.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I remember when you said it better than I did, that there's 2 L's in Icelandic, it changes to a T L.
Which is
really weird.
Yeah, I thought I'd show off.
Nicely done. Yeah, was the old game like Eyjafjallajökull or something like this? Very
it was reasonably close. It's probably YouTube videos of people just saying that.
Something like
you could add it to your alphabet playlist.
And we have someone from Norway in the chat. Hello, I know I always say your name wrong, I'm so sorry. Anleig, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. She says Swedish has a separate word list for when they want to play with inflections. So 2 word lists, interesting, one with and one without inflections. Ying, talking about Russian Scrabble, says, in Russian Scrabble, what lets you?
So Harshan went for the perfectly reasonable points play of Fet and has drawn to ISO touch, which plays very nicely on row 13. So he might get a little bit of margin back here with a consolation bingo. Meanwhile, Dave probably looking for bingos again. And, I doubt there's a 7 there. And even 8s don't come up in Ziziva, to my slight surprise. Oh, very nice play though. Spends the blank for a very large score and knocks out some scoring options and development options for Harshan. Does leave ISO touch on, but I think that's a nice bit of board vision actually.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful play. And to Anleig, hey, Vordanargude. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm pretty sure I got the second word wrong, but I think it's like HVORDAN as part of the how are you expression, but I know I got it wrong.
He's handsomely rewarded.
Yeah, looks like a pretty good pickup on David Eldar's end.
He gets Larders, which plays right now, but shouldn't play when he's on hoof.
It would be the ultimate punishment for Harshan if he does miss his play here.
I don't think he will. Harshan, I feel a bit bad. We've been quite critical of his play in games where he's been bagged and comprehensively outdrawn. But he must be doing a lot right to be, up here playing off his second in the Causeway Challenge. We've seen, in this tournament, David Eldar hasn't made the top table. Andrew Fisher hasn't made the top table. Coleman's made it once. Yeah. Alistair Richards has made it once. These are absolutely world-class players. And Harshan's here playing off the second. And no surprise to see him nail the bingo.
Nice play. Yeah, and he also destroyed Jesse last round. I think he scored. Meanwhile, Causeway has gone for a walk around the room. Hopefully with an update on the next game. Has returned with an update.
Hey there, so on the board below this one, it's Alistair Richards against Irene Saidu, and I can say that Alistair is a bingo up, about 70 points up, and it looks like a fairly comfortable position for him. Meaning that should he win, he will overtake Saidu and hit 4th place with his handy margin of around 1,200 points. A nice tournament for him, considering that he never quite made it up to the top.
Yeah, with a bit of a rough patch there for a while. Harshan needs Rin with a lot of room around it.
I assume that's an anagram quiz of some kind. Which I'm not solving.
Yeah, I'm having a bit of a tough time with it too.
Harshan goes for the case S.
Oh wait, no, that's Eldar, no?
Oh, was that Eldar? Beg your pardon.
Yeah. Eldar with a nice little setup there. Probably just having some fun here since he's not too worried about the result changing anytime soon.
is actually a really nice 10 that Joel showed me throughout the ISs of it. Harshan's rack around a floating RIN to make a 10. This is why I don't play anagrams.
Yeah, once it gets past 9 letters or so, then I'm starting to have a really hard time. And even with 9, it's a bit tough. So we are joined in the studio by the organizer of this fantastic event, Michael Tang, to provide some final thoughts here as to the event. Michael, welcome.
Welcome, and hi everybody. Any news from Masters? I believe Andrew Chan is probably 2 bingos ahead of Andy Cunha, so I believe Andrew Chan has won the Masters.
All right, so there's an update from there. And Michael, how's it feeling as you're getting into the end of the final round of play on the last day? Now just some awards and a little bit of housekeeping to do after that.
Well, I must say that the biggest achievement for Causeway 2016 has been the streaming, and we're very honored to have Chris May and Jesse Matthew to be our commentator for the last 45 rounds. So I hope with this coverage, it kind of set the benchmark for the rest of the world, and I believe there's a huge audience for this streaming of commentated Scrabble games, and I believe that this is the way forward.
So that leads a bit into my next question, Michael. For anyone who's looking at an event of any size, really, big or small, is there any advice you would give as to how you feel it would be ideally set up? Obviously, part of what we've done here is some of that answer to you, but now that you've gotten to watch it happen for your own event, what would you say to people who are looking to put an ideal coverage, with commentators and such?
Well, I think Crackle is an extremely useful tool, and just for the audience around the world, we put together this coverage with a very, very shoestring budget. Effectively, it's just 4 webcam, which costs 250 Singapore dollars, like 200 US dollars. And then we hire a piece of equipment, and there you are, what you're seeing.
Yeah, so the vMix box that Michael's talking about, it just sits on the counter. It looks a bit like an amp that you would have for a stereo. It does not occupy much space. Besides that, it's just some laptop computers to help deal with the cameras and the feeds, and that's about it. So it's a really
simple setup.
It's easy to replicate, and when I get back to North America, for the North Americans interested, I can certainly talk to you about some of how this setup works. And then for those who are closer to the Asia, South Pacific region, you can certainly talk to Michael now that he's seen it.
Yeah, the main person behind is Elijah Kuma, who's actually playing intermediate. We'll be more than happy to share with the rest of the world how we put this together. But the key thing is that I have a dedicated 20 meg lease line in the ballroom, which allows this high quality streaming. So I think that is important. So other than that, obviously you need awesome commentator like Jesse and Chris. I think you have a package.
All right, so there's the secret, guys. That's how you get a setup like the one here at the Causeway Challenge. And Michael, we were asked about whether it's possible to see the award ceremony. We did tell them that no, not with this particular setup. But maybe I can put on a Facebook Live video. We'll see. We'll see if we can figure something out. Any closing thoughts you'd like to give to everyone watching? The floor is yours.
Well, I think all things considered, there are hitches. There are hiccups with the draws. And because it's 45 games and the pairing system had problem dealing with Gibsonization, but all things considered, I think it's a huge success. People from all over the world who came to play in this tournament, they're all extremely happy, and everyone has been asking me this $1 million question: when is the next Causeway? Unfortunately, I do not have an answer for that. It takes a lot of effort. In case people are not aware, Causeway 2016 is organized by one person, which is yours truly. There's no committee, so everything from A to Z is done by one person. So as you can imagine, it takes a lot of effort, and it will take me at least few months to recover back.
And Michael, we're extremely thankful you have given us the opportunity to be a part of this. I've only ever gotten to observe from afar with pictures and standings from previous events, but now that I've gotten to be a part of the event, although not as a player yet, it has been fantastic to see, and it is very clear that the praise that you've been lauded, it has merit and then some. Thank you so much for putting this on, and yeah, we'll look forward to another one should you do another one, and I'm going to be watching and hopefully with the news of being able to play in one someday soon.
Well, one thing is for sure, if there's ever another Causeway, Chris May and Jesse Matthew will be part of the package. With that, I shall hand over to two of them.
All right, you heard it here first. So we will be part of a negotiation package for the next Causeway should it happen. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I can only echo some of what Jesse said during that chat with Michael. It's been a real privilege for me to be here and rejoining the Scrabble community for the first time in a couple of years to call some of these great games between wonderful players with an awesome co-commentator as part of the what I've always regarded as the toughest tournament in the world, actually, in Double Dictionary. And I know Michael wants it to be that, and I think he very often succeeds. 45 games is really grueling. Of course, the King of the Hill format is as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really enjoyed myself in the booth for 5 days. And a large part of that has also been the really active chat and all the suggestions we've had from everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much for staying up late to watch and giving us such creative commentary back in response to what we've been saying. It's been a little bit of a challenge for us to call the games without Quackle. That was a choice we made early on, and I don't regret it for a second. What about you, Jesse?
No, I actually have really enjoyed getting to follow along and discover the moves ourselves. As a result, we have not been perfect, clearly, as both of us have once in a while called out words that aren't words, and then come to some plays, but you know, we are of course human as well as everyone watching, obviously. But yeah, it's been absolutely fun. For me, it's brand new to not use Quackle and minimize the use of Zarf while following along, and I can definitely say this has made me a better player just being here watching. And we hope the same for you, that these games in the present and upon review, for those of you who are interested, that it will improve our games as well, because we do have a nice library of games here, particularly several that come to mind are really worthy of deep analysis, so we can improve our own games. We'd obviously love to see Scrabble as a whole, the skill level rise, because I saw mentioned, I think it was earlier today, if not late yesterday, that in chess there are a lot of people who are capable of thinking at a higher level in a similar way to Nigel in the respect of chess, and that in Scrabble, as of yet, we haven't gotten there, but with more games like this to review and chat in time, perhaps we can get there someday.
Indeed, and I'm not quite sure if everyone will be aware of this, but actually a lot of games at this tournament have been annotated. It's way more than just the top table stream that will be available later. I think there's been annotators on pretty much throughout for the top 4 boards, which is coming up to 200 annotated games.
That's amazing.
Featuring fantastic players. So once all the GCG files go up from those, it's really going to be an instructive library of games to play through.
That is Christmas morning pretty much for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, for people wanting to do some strategic study, which I always think is almost more effective time spent than word study. Well, I think this is somewhere to go, in addition to reading strategic opinion from people like Kenji, who are publishing it at the moment. And personally, I have to just reiterate that I thought round 38, and I know we've been promoting it a lot, and I saw that it has by far the most views now of any of the streams we've done. Round 38 between David Eldar and Nigel Richards in this tournament was an absolutely phenomenal tournament Scrabble game. By far one of the most interesting, complicated and well-played games that I have ever seen, and it was a real privilege to call it with Jesse.
I feel like I got to be a part of some Scrabble history. Jason, to answer your question about who the annotators were on boards 2 and 4, it seems like they hired some girls to annotate at the boards there. I'm not sure if they were Scrabble players specifically, but all the same, there were some girls hired to sit there and annotate on boards 2 through 4.
Yeah, unfortunately we've been kept a bit busy between rounds, so we haven't really got to know the annotators, which is a bit of a shame. You can bet your life Jason Katz-Brown would have got to know them had he
Oh,
been
absolutely.
here. Yeah.
And it was also fun seeing Nigel cracking some jokes with them and just casually shooting the breeze.
Yeah, he's just been hanging around the top tables. He's had nothing
Yeah.
to do for 2 rounds.
Yeah. And I tried again.
Probably trying to learn a bit. Pick up some words.
I went over to talk to him before this game and asked him if there was any commentary running through his head, and he said, "Nope." And that was about it. And then just smiled and turned back to look at the game. So back to our game at hand here. I did see the AR drop for the fish for a line, I'm guessing, and then bite to obscure. Oh, and EE on the bottom, so there's been several.
Tile count there from Harshan.
Yeah. So 2 in the bag, and sorry if the ambient noise is getting a little loud for you. Just about everyone has finished their games, and they are, of course, anxious to get to the award ceremony. We are naturally too.
Most light types. The commentators have given up commenting on this game, which is good, because I think the players have given up on playing it.
Well, one of them.
Yeah, certainly it isn't an exciting finish on the top table. Dave locked up this game some time ago. They're really just haggling over spread at this point.
Yeah. And yeah, the ambient noise gives you some signs of life in the room, hey? We're not really so used to the noise being like this at some of the North American tournaments. We used to get shushing a lot when people would start to get a little rambunctious, but that's not really happened in this tournament at all. People are talking, it's just...
You've never been to King's Cup, have you?
I know that it's much louder there.
Yeah,
I've heard.
to say the least, as well as the constant looping soundtracks.
The crossword game, I don't know the song.
Yeah. I can send you the MP3.
Oh no.
If you want. There's a couple of them.
This is like the Thai version of a bad Eurovision
There's
song.
the cross... I don't know what you've got against Eurovision. I'm just like teabagging it.
There are some good ones too.
Yeah, no, there's at least a couple of crossword game songs there. You know, they sometimes go through my head when I get up in the morning. I've played the tournament for 6 years.
How does the song go?
Oh, I'm not singing it for you.
You're not? This is your time. Your moment to shine.
I turned down my moment to shine. It'd be cool to play Svarages, wouldn't it?
I actually saw Swaraj in a previous game.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. I'm surprised there are 43 people still with us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Don't you guys have anything better to do?
So the bag is empty. It's on David Eldar's turn.
An important question from
That is
Zach.
actually a good question.
Did Jesse Day win his last game? I will go and find out.
Jesse was playing Tacha Kuirat in this last round to see who could creep into the top 5. Jesse was the one starting that game. Perhaps, if possible, he'll also get us an update from Irene Desaidu and Alistair Richards. Yeah, now Chris May is never going to come back. I am on my own here. Well, I'm a little mystified as to what David Eldar is doing, because he knows he's won. He has nothing to worry about spread-wise. He's taken second place, so maybe this is why I'm, well, one of many reasons why I'm not at the same level. I would just be blasting through this game and just being like, hey, I'm done, got a second. There's less than a minute on each player's clock, so we should be finishing up here pretty quickly.
I'm sorry to say that I could neither Jesse today nor his opponent Toucher in the playing room just then, so I still don't know who won the game.
Chris Life says Dave could go like 9 minutes overtime and still win. Let's do that. I would say let's not. Let's finish very quickly.
I would quite like a beer. Having concluded my antibiotics course yesterday,
Okay.
I feel secure enough to drink one.
Very good. Zev, we will do our best to give you the top 10, but if we don't have a result from a game like Jesse's, we cannot do that. We'll give you what we do know. David Eldar has finally chosen drying to the G and gag. For top 2, we do know that obviously Nigel won the tournament after round 43. Second place will be David Eldar on 29 wins. Harshan's losing this game, he'll stay at 28.
So Saidu could have come into third had he beat Alistair Richards. I might see if I can learn the result of that.
Yeah. So Chris will run away again, leaving me to finish this game up. There goes Jive, and Eldar goes out with use. So the tiles revealed on Harshan's side. That makes the result official. Harshan possibly third. However, if Alistair Richards defeats Ayurinde Saidu, then Harshan will stay in third. If Ayurinde wins, he'll actually jump over Harshan to take third.
Please just come back because that closing ceremony right after the first ball finish. Please return the ball and the clock. The ball and the clock, please return to the clock there.
Just waiting to see if we can get some results before we officially sign off for the last time here. Chris has not made his way over as of yet, but I do see a shadow coming there. He is. Perhaps we have an update from either of those games now.
Yes, Alistair was keen to give you a detailed rundown of his game with Saidu, but the upshot was that Saidu ran out a 2-point victor.
Oh wow!
Which means
he will be in third.
He will be in third.
So we have a few places determined. So Nigel in first, David Eldar in second, Ayurinde Saidu creeping up into third with this last minute win here, and then Harshan will drop down to fourth. Alistair with that loss will stay at 26. Jesse was playing Tacha. Did we have any? Well, we didn't have anything because they were gone.
Yeah.
So Jesse Day could jump up to fifth if he won that last one. He was playing Tacha. Actually, whichever of the two of them win will jump into fifth, and Alistair Richards will be in sixth. Actually, not necessarily. Austin could jump into sixth.
Ahead of Alistair into sixth. Yeah.
There's too many people at 25 wins for us to determine the rest of the top 10, but certainly the first several places are decided. And this game is, as we know, decided. So, well, here we are, the end of 45 games, and that means that we are all done, guys. The award ceremony is starting shortly, so we're going to get cut off, and all these equipment's being packed up in less than 10 minutes. So, thanks so much for joining. It's been our pleasure to bring this to you, and who knows, next time this is going to happen. But apparently, as Michael said, we're going to be here if it is. So, until then, one last time, Jesse Matthews and Chris May signing off from Johor Bahru, Malaysia. Have a good day, night, wherever you are.